brightest blazes of gladness are commonly kindled by unexpected sparks. That's a quote by Samuel Johnson. Unexpected sparks can ignite change in an organization. When on the verge of collapse, it's those unexpected sparks that very well may be the saving grace of that organization. Today I'm going to talk about why teams can best lead change in an organization. I'll be talking about some research and evidence that supports this. I'm going to talk about a company that recently has decided to shift into using more teamwork in their company. And then I'm going to talk about a company that was actually saved from certain demise because of teamwork. They were literally shocked into teamwork. This example is about a rudimentary form of teamwork. What it shows, though, is that even a rudimentary level of teamwork can have dramatic impact on change efforts. What this shows is that even a rudimentary level of teamwork is very powerful when it comes to change efforts. Researchers have discovered that change efforts often fail. In fact, the failure rate for change efforts, some research shows, is as high as 33 to 66%. Still, other research shows that it's even much higher than that. It's 80 to 90% failure. And some change efforts even make the situation worse. How dreadful is that? How many of you have ever been involved in an unsuccessful change effort? Not good. The next question you're probably thinking is, what does contribute to successful change? There was a study done that involved 500 participants. They discovered certain behaviors that make a difference when it comes to change efforts. Not only that, but they prioritized these. And the top 3 change effort behaviors were motivation, communication, and the capability to build teams. Leaders that take advantage of these behaviors are much more likely to implement successful change. Think about it. Certainly, people will not form teams and work in teams unless they're first motivated to do so. After that, communication is important. The best teams have great communication. Connections and linkages make a difference. The Harvard Business Review and a study by Balcundy and Harrison both found that when teams have more connections among team members, they're more likely to be successful. Effective change happens when there's an open flow of communication, when teams are supported by the organization, and when teams work together instead of against each other. You may need to ignite or create a sense of urgency for change. You may need to create some kind of buzz about why now is the time for change. Change management guru John Kotter has stated that effective change will not happen unless 75% of managers buy into the change. The most effective change happens because of teamwork. When teamwork is prevalent at all levels of an organization, it can cause the entire culture to change. When I think about teamwork, I think about sports teams. I think back to high school, and I remember rooting for my basketball team. I've had a feeling that evoked a spirit in me, a feeling that caused me to feel connected to that team, even though I was not on the team. it's that experience that causes me to believe that it really is possible to have teamwork at all levels. One company in 2013 awakened to the realization that teamwork matters. I'm talking about Microsoft. Microsoft is a gigantic company, a gigantic organization. It has more than 100,000 employees. It brings in $77 billion in revenue every single year. This is a major company, but in 2013, their sales started to decline. Not only that, but their tablet and smartphone sales were somewhat lackluster. A headline reads, Microsoft's new mission, to create real teamwork, not just teams. In July of 2013, Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft, announced that Microsoft was going to undergo a mammoth reorganization. What he wanted to do, what his intention was to have a corporate champion to be in charge of major initiatives and to take that initiative and lead a drive a cross-company team. He wanted to bridge the gap between the different divisions that have operated very autonomously, create more cooperation and collaboration. He saw Microsoft as being one company with one vision, one strategy. Fast forward to July of 2014. A new CEO took the helm at Microsoft, Satya Nadella. His intention was to further Ballmer's initiatives and to really focus on changing the whole culture of Microsoft. What he wanted to do is create more collaboration among the different divisions so that they could work together better. Another company, much smaller, actually succeeded in uniting its divisions. This company experienced a complete turnaround. They were literally shocked into teamwork. This started in 1996. At that time, the company was kind of like a frog in a pan of boiling water. They were on the verge of bankruptcy and they did not even know it. At this time, they had two top guys in charge, Wilson Sunt and Bob Sunt. Well, before I get into that, I should tell you a little bit about Sunt. This company was founded in 1890 by Maurice Martensen Sunt. He was a Norwegian by birth. Their first major project at Sunt was to build a dam at Peterson Canyon in 1911. Then in 1943, they built the buildings at Los Alamos that housed the Manhattan Project. That's where they created the first atomic bomb. Then in 1965, they built the launch pad for the Apollo launch pad. And then they've been involved in building bridges, highways, buildings, and even theme park rides. In 2004, they built SeaWorld's Journey to Atlantis, one of my favorite rides. This company has had a sterling reputation of commitment and quality. Let me tell you a little bit about the construction industry. It's a very low margin business. Here's another thing you need to make note of. Sometimes it can be very difficult to get jobs, to get work. What happened at Sunt is that they sort of devolved into a mindset of let's just get the project no matter what. They forgot to pay attention to whether that project would make them any money or not. They finally got to a point where they actually believed they were too good to fail. But that belief was soon going to be shattered. The top two people at the company at that time were Bob Sunt and Wilson Sant. They were direct descendants of Maurice Martinson Sant. One day, Wilson Sant made the trip from the headquarters in Tucson, Arizona, to where one of his divisions was in Phoenix, Arizona. He went there to see Doug Pruitt, the VP of that division. He went in the door, made his way to Doug's desk, and when he got there, he said to Doug, "Bob's retiring, I'm making you president." And then he headed on back out the door. Well, Doug chased after him. He was like, "What? Did I hear you right?" He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Doug had been with the company for 26 years. Of course he wanted a top position like this. The thing is, he did not think that it would come to him in such an abrupt way. He was thrilled about the opportunity. Shortly after this, he went to the Tucson headquarters to find out what he was getting himself into. He discovered that he had been given the helm of a sinking ship. Sant was losing millions of dollars. There was construction claims and litigation. There was group after group, division after division that had not been consistently profitable for 10 years or more. This was going to be an enormous challenge. Doug did have an ally, and that was Richard Condit. Richard Condit was a senior VP and administrator at Sant. He handled financial matters and other key aspects of the company. He had joined Sant in 1993. He got together with Doug and he told him, or discussed with him, said to him, why don't you have a retreat, an off-site meeting, and bring together all your senior VPs and division heads and managers, bring them all together so you can look at the situation and work on it together. Doug ran this past Wilson. He wanted to see what his reaction would be. Well, Wilson thought this was a terrible idea, but they decided to go ahead and have the retreat anyway. On the first day of the retreat, which was being held at Gold Canyon, Doug opened the books. He revealed the financials to all his 49 division heads and managers. When they saw this, he looked around the room and he saw that there was a sea of faces around that room that registered absolute shock. Nobody could believe the company was really doing that poorly. After that, they got into discussion groups and they started immediately working on the problems that they had just found out about. It turns out when people are very emotional, they can accomplish a lot, and they did. They accomplished a tremendous amount. Finally, the last day of the retreat rolled around, and on that day, Doug gave a speech. It went something like this. He said, "You have heard about the problems that we're facing, and they are very severe. I do not have all of the answers. And it's not just my responsibility. It's our collective responsibility to solve these problems and make this company great again. I can't do it alone. I need your help. There's going to be some changes, and you're not going to like a lot of these changes because it's going to mean that you have to do things differently than you've done it before. And if you can't be a part of this, then you can't be here. We have to change. We have no choice." At this point, Doug paused to take a look around the room, and he noticed that Wilson was there. He was in the very back. He wondered what Wilson would think about it, what he was going to say next. Wilson, the proud, stubborn CEO, the last remaining family member in power at Sant. He continued, "I need to know if you're going to stand with me, and if you can't work with me on making these changes, you can't be here anymore." Then he pointed to a line where the carpet and the floor met. He said, "This is the mythical line in the sand. Who will come and stand with me on this side of the line?" What happened next was quite extraordinary. Wilson sprang up and hustled towards the stage to stand next to Doug. Everyone who saw this was stunned. Their jaws dropped. Then Wilson spoke. He said, "This is a great company. Don't let it fail." After that, everyone in the audience rushed up on stage to stand next to Doug and Wilson. Here's a photo that was taken on this last day of this event. They called this the 1996 Leadership Academy. As you can see, there's a lot of upside down smiley faces. This was not a happy day. Within a few years, 60% of the people in this photograph were gone. They left, they retired, they were fired, one even died. However, in this moment, everyone in this picture is committed to turning the company around, to bringing it back from the abyss to greatness again. Turned out this truly was a pivotal event. Now, the division managers and key people in the company knew what the problems were all about. They understood the depths of the problems. And because they could see what was going on, they could start doing something about it. There was one message that rang loud and clear. This would not be just a bunch of silos anymore. Now they would come together as one collaborative company. That was not going to be easy. The division heads were going to have to make some major changes. One of these key changes was in the area of rewards. If you ask somebody at Sunt how they got their reward, in other words, what did it have to do with, they would say, "I don't know." Why? Because there was no connection between their bonuses and the profit center's performance. Managers just campaigned for funds, and if they got it, they would give it out to their employees. Doug and Richard completely revamped the reward system. No division would receive any bonus money unless that division was first profitable. Not only this, but Doug and Richard created specific performance standards that they would have to meet. Things like days in receivables, operating profit, employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, and safety. Every single division had to be concerned about the profitability of the whole company, not just his or her division. Productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then saw on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then saw on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then saw on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then saw on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then saw on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then saw on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then saw on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive. Study done that looked at the costs involved in construction. What this study found was that 30% or more of the cost had to do with a lack of coordination among team members. What this meant for the people at Sunt is that by cooperating more and working together more, they were able to improve their bottom line. They did. By using teams, you can dramatically improve your change efforts, the success of your change efforts. When people are motivated enough and when there's great, good communication, teams can carry out their work effectively. Another thing that's important is that that team is well connected so that they can carry out the change. Today I talked about how in 2013 Microsoft started to think more about making their creating cross-company teams to carry out the work and thinking about getting their divisions to collaborate and work together more. Could Microsoft, a gigantic company, learn something from a much smaller company like Sunt? Perhaps it could. Why? Because Sunt succeeded in uniting its divisions. They experienced a complete turnaround. All the divisions agreed on the standards that they would all be evaluated by. They became productive, and the company became profitable again. Not only that, but the company then started to grow again. Doug used tremendous courage when he opened the books at Sunt. He and Richard together saved the company by getting the division managers to understand the problems and start working to correct them. You may choose to be a positive agent for change in your organization. If you decide to do this, remember that things might just get worse before they get better. You need to have a vision so that you'll be able to weather the stormy seas on your way to that vision. Remember that in order to be successful, you may just have to light a fire under people and be that unexpected spark.